My stepmom controlled my life like a movie villain. People always told me how lucky I was. At least your dad found someone who cares enough to be a mother figure, they'd gush, patting my shoulder like I'd won some kind of prize. My stepmom knew exactly how to play into that image. She would smile, squeeze my hand in public, and put on this sugary sweet voice, convincing everyone she was the perfect wife and selfless step-parent. But the truth? Behind closed doors, she was nothing like that. She was cold, manipulative, and terrifyingly precise. Almost like a villain ripped right out of a movie script, except it was my real life, and I was trapped in her story. She didn't just try to be part of my life, she wanted to control it. Everything I wore, every friend I had, every choice I made had to run through her. If I resisted, she didn't scream or slam doors. No, she was smarter than that. She twisted things so I looked ungrateful, selfish, or unstable. And the worst part? She was so good at it that even my dad, the man who should have protected me, didn't see through her act. To him, I was the problem child, and she was the savior picking up the pieces. It wasn't just about rules either. She planted secrets, manufactured betrayals, and even made choices that could have changed the entire course of my future. At times, it felt like she enjoyed watching me squirm, like my pain was entertainment. I wish I could say I saw it coming, that I fought back from the very beginning, but the truth is I didn't. It all started so quietly, so deceptively kind, that I didn't realize I was living under the control of someone who would eventually try to rewrite every chapter of my life. When my mom died, it felt like the world collapsed under me. Everything I knew, every sense of safety I had vanished with her. My dad was shattered too. I remember catching him staring blankly at us. Kitchen table late at night, his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee gone cold. For a while, we just existed side by side, broken in silence. So when he introduced me to her, I wanted so badly to believe it meant something good, that maybe life could feel normal again. At first, my stepmom was everything people dream of in those shiny fairy tales. She wore bright dresses, smelled like expensive perfume, and always brought me little gifts, hair clips, candy, sketchbooks for my drawings. She cooed about how special I was in front of my dad, calling me sweetie in a voice smooth as silk. Friends and family praised her endlessly, saying my dad was lucky to have found someone who not only loved him, but took on such a big role in my life. I wanted to love her too. I wanted to relax, to let myself believe maybe I had gotten a second chance at a mom. But it didn't take long for the cracks to show. At first, it was little things. That outfit doesn't suit you. Why don't you wear what I picked out instead? Or, don't spend time with that friend, she's not a good influence. And because she said it with such confidence, I thought maybe she really did know best. My dad certainly acted like she did. He beamed anytime she swooped in to organize my schedule or made suggestions about how I should behave. But those suggestions hardened into rules. Before I knew it, my closet had been filled with clothes she chose, not me. She made me delete phone numbers of friends she didn't like. She controlled what shows I watched, how late I stayed up, even what hobbies I pursued. Trust me, she'd say, flashing that polished smile, I know what's best for you. And the more she tightened her grip, the less choice I had in my own life. I told myself at first that maybe it was just her being protective, that maybe she was trying too hard to play mom and didn't realize she was mothering me. But then I saw the look in her eyes when my dad wasn't around, the way the smile slipped away, replaced with something colder, sharper, calculating. That's when I started to understand. She didn't want to care for me. She wanted to control me. And the scariest part was how blind my dad was to all of it, standing there under her spell, while I felt my life slipping out of my hands, piece by piece. She didn't just slip into our family. She took over like it had always been hers. Within months, the house that once held my mom's warmth started to feel like a stage set for my stepmom's performance. She orchestrated everything down to the smallest details, as if we were puppets she could control with invisible strings. My mornings, once slow and quiet, became scheduled down to the minute. Breakfast wasn't what I wanted anymore. It was what she decided, and if I refused, she'd purse her lips and sigh dramatically until my dad noticed and accused me of being difficult. Her control stretched into every corner of my life. Birthdays stopped feeling like celebrations. My friends would bring me small gifts, things that actually meant something. Bracelets, books, little trinkets I loved. But somehow, she always intercepted them. She'd take them to keep them safe, and I rarely saw them again. Later, she'd hand me something expensive but generic, like a sweater or a set of perfumes I never asked for, and watch me carefully for my reaction. If I didn't act thrilled, she'd accuse me of being spoiled. All the while, my own treasures sat hidden somewhere in her drawers. Reminders of what she thought I didn't deserve. And the punishments, God, they were never loud, never obvious. That was her genius. If I broke her unspoken rules, if I wore something she disapproved of or tried to sneak a call with a friend, she didn't yell. Instead, she cut me off in ways that hurt worse. She'd withhold meals, claiming I wasn't hungry since I had an attitude, or she'd tell my dad I disrespected her, twisting the story so I looked ungrateful. And D because she said it with such conviction, he always believed her. I'd find myself grounded for actions I never even took. Worse, she poisoned the way others saw me. She charmed our neighbors with her sweet laugh and endless chatter, always slipping in little digs about me disguised as concern. She's a bit troubled, you know, struggling since her mother passed, she'd whisper, just loud enough for people to pity her. Or, she has a temper. Teenagers can be so ungrateful. By the time I walked through the neighborhood, I could feel the sidelong glances, the pitying smiles. Everyone believed her version of me, the broken, difficult stepdaughter. Even food wasn't safe from her grip. She dictated what I ate, claiming it was for my health. If I reached for sweets, she'd smack my hand away with a fake laugh. If I lingered at the fridge too long, she'd scold me for being wasteful. Meals became less about nourishment and more about showcasing her discipline. The irony was that at her dinner parties, she'd pile plates high with indulgent dishes for her guests, smiling proudly at how generous she was, while I quietly picked at portions picked for me, always under her watchful eye. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Each time I tried to assert myself, she twisted it into proof that I was selfish or ungrateful. Each attempt to speak was turned against me, feeding her performance as the dedicated wife and martyr stepmother. In the eyes of everyone else, she was a saint putting up with a teenager who didn't appreciate her. In reality, she was my warden. I felt like I was starring in a play I didn't audition for, trapped in a life scripted by her hand, with my dad applauding from the front row while I slowly disappeared into the shadows. And all the while, she smiled that perfect smile, knowing she was winning. School was supposed to be my escape, the one place where I could breathe without her voice in my ear, the one environment where I thought she couldn't reach me. But of course, she found a way to sink her claws into that too. She treated my phone like it was community property, rifling through my messages every night under the excuse of keeping me safe. Anytime she read something she didn't like, an inside joke with a friend, a hint of me venting about her, she declared that friend a bad influence and deleted their number. By the end of sophomore year, my contacts list had been trimmed down to almost nothing, but she didn't stop there. She got my teachers involved. She'd call the school and leave these syrupy voiced messages pretending to be so concerned about me. She's been through a lot since her mother passed, so if she acts out, please let me know, she'd say. Or, she struggles with focus sometimes and we're trying to guide her. It sounded caring, but it painted me as this unstable, fragile mess before I even had a chance to prove myself. I only found out when my English teacher pulled me aside after class one day to ask if I was coping okay at home. The pity in her eyes cut me open. I didn't want pity. I wanted to be treated like me, not like some broken project my stepmom had invented. Soon, the whispers started. Rumors moved fast in school. People said I was jealous of my stepmom, that I was violent at home, that I was being sent to therapy because I couldn't adjust. None of it was true, but the lies stuck because they were coming from her, the charming, responsible adult no one ever doubted. Friends pulled away slowly, unsure what was real. I'd walk through the halls and feel their stares, the way conversations died when I came near. Even in group projects, her shadow loomed. Once, a friend invited me to study at her house, but her mom canceled, saying she heard I was a bit of trouble. I didn't need to guess where she heard that from. My stepmom didn't just control me in my world, she infected the worlds of everyone around me, until I couldn't find a single place untouched by her lies. The worst part was knowing there was nowhere safe. Not at home, where I was suffocating under her rules. Not at school, where her fake concern turned me into the outcast. I remember sitting in the bathroom stall one day, clutching my knees to my chest, realizing with a hollow ache that the one refuge I'd counted on had been stolen from me too. My life wasn't my own. Not anywhere. She made sure of that. The breaking point came on the day I got the letter I had been waiting for all year. Art had always been the one thing that was truly mine. I spent nights sketching under dim lamplight when the house was quiet, pouring every ounce of feeling onto paper because it was the only outlet I had left. My art teacher saw something in me and pushed me to apply for a summer scholarship program, a chance to study at a prestigious workshop states away. When the envelope finally arrived, thick and official looking, I thought my chest would burst from hope. I remember holding it in my hands, daring to imagine a different future. No stepmom hovering over me, no twisted rules, just me, my art, and a chance to finally breathe. But before I could even tear it open, I heard her voice behind me. "What's that?" she asked, sugary sweet. I hesitated, and that was my mistake. She swooped in like a hawk, plucking the letter from my hands before I could stop her. Her eyes scanned the first few lines, and for the first time, I saw her smile falter. "A scholarship?" she muttered, her voice dripping with disdain. "So you think you're just going to run off and leave this family behind, like some spoiled little princess chasing her doodles?" I begged at her to give it back, but she just laughed. Not her usual polished, performative laugh, the real one. It was sharp, cruel, delighted in my desperation. "You'll never survive out there. You can't even survive in this house without me telling you what to do. Do you really think you're special enough for this?" And then, as I stood frozen, she slowly tore the letter in half. Rip, rip, rip. The sound shredded through me, louder than any scream. I lunged forward, trying to grab the pieces, but she pulled them away. away, ripping them smaller and smaller until all that was left were scraps fluttering onto the floor. Tears burned hot in my eyes, but she only leaned closer, whispering so softly it chilled me to the bone. "You belong here, under my rules. Don't ever forget that. If you think you can rise above me, I'll drag you back down every time." That was the moment the mask fully slipped. For years, I had told myself her rules were about discipline or maybe even care twisted into something suffocating. But in that moment, I saw the truth. She relished controlling me. She thrived on watching me squirm. It wasn't about helping me grow. It was about keeping me small. When my dad got home that night, she told him some lie about me acting out over the mail, painting me yet again as the problem. He scolded me for not being respectful, completely blind to the truth. I stood there silent, my heart broken, watching her cling to his arm with that angelic expression plastered across her face, as if she hadn't just ripped my future to pieces. In that instant, something inside me hardened. I realized I was never going to win by playing her game. This wasn't a strict parent disciplining me. This was a villain pulling strings just to watch me break. And sooner or later, if I didn't fight back, she would keep cutting me down until there was nothing left. I thought maybe, just maybe, my dad would finally believe me after what happened with the scholarship letter. Even though she shredded the evidence, I couldn't keep pretending. That night, I gathered what little Raj I had left and walked into the living room where he sat in front of the TV, beer in hand. My voice shook as I began, "Dad, I need to talk to you about her, about the things she's been doing." He looked up, annoyed, as if I were interrupting his peace. But when I pushed forward, spilling everything, the letter, the way she monitored me, the way she twisted my every move, he didn't react the way I prayed he would. Instead, his face hardened with disbelief. "Enough," he said sharply, voice stern. "Do you realize how ungrateful you sound right now? That woman bends over backwards to take care of you. She stepped in when your mom was gone, and this is how you repay her? With lies and accusations?" The words hit me like blows. "I'm not lying," I shouted, desperate, tears already stinging. "She controls everything I do, Dad. She tore up my scholarship because she doesn't want me to succeed. Don't you see what's happening? She's not who you think she is." But instead of softening, he exploded. "Stop it. You think you're the only one who lost something when your mother died? You think life's been easy for me? She gave me a reason to move on. She keeps this house together. She cooks, she cleans, she cares. And you," his eyes flashed with anger, "you fight her every step of the way. She tells me how difficult you've been, how disrespectful, and I keep defending you. But now I see she was right." It felt like my chest caved in. The one person I thought should defend me, the one man I thought would know me better than anyone, had turned against me without a second thought. My stepmom didn't even need to be in the room. Her voice was already in his head, feeding his every word. I tried one last time, voice breaking. "Dad, please, I'm begging you. Just look at how she treats me when you're not around. Just watch her closer. You'll see it." But he shook his head with finality. "You need to stop. She's done nothing but help us, and you're making up stories because you don't like having rules. Grow up. It's time you stopped blaming everyone else for your choices." I couldn't even speak after that, and my throat closed up and I just stood there, numb, while he turned back to his beer, conversation over. It was like the earth had swallowed me whole. Later that night, I watched them together. She draped across him on the couch, laughing softly at some joke, his hand resting on hers like they were this perfect, happy couple. He gazed at her with admiration, completely blind to the monster sitting right next to him. When she glanced at me from across the room, our eyes met, and she smirked. A slow, knowing smirk. She won. That was when it sank in fully. I was alone. Completely, devastatingly alone. No one was coming to rescue me, no one believed me, and no matter how much evidence I tried to bring, she was always one step ahead, convincing everyone that she was the hero in this story, and I was the villain. Hopelessness swallowed me whole that night. It wasn't just about what she had done anymore. It was about realizing the one person who was supposed to shield me, supposed to believe me no matter what, had chosen her over me. And nothing in my entire life had ever hurt worse than that. It happened on a day I wasn't even trying to dig. I just wanted to hide. After another brutal argument with her, I stormed off to the garage where she rarely went. I was pacing when I noticed one of her old handbags tossed carelessly on a shelf, half open. I don't know why I reached for it. Maybe some part of me hoped it'd give me something to feel in control of, even for a second. But what I found inside changed everything. At first, it was just receipts, expensive dinners, jewelry, spa visits, all paid with my dad's credit card. But tucked behind them was an envelope stuffed with bank statements. My heart almost stopped when I read the numbers. My dad's accounts were being drained faster than he could replenish them. Transfers, unexplained withdrawals, money missing in huge chunks. Tens of thousands gone, and all of it carried her name, quietly siphoning off what was supposed to be our family's security. I kept flipping through the papers, my hands shaking, and then I saw something worse. A second bank account, registered under a different name, but with her signature scrawled in the corner. She wasn't just spending money recklessly, she was hiding it, stashing it away for herself while pretending to sacrifice everything to take care of us. The pit in my stomach twisted tighter as the puzzle came together. The strict rules, the obsession with image, the need to control every inch of my life. It wasn't just about power over me. It was about building a flawless mask while she robbed everything behind it. For a long moment, I sat there in silence, bile rising in my throat as I thought through everything she had done. Every fake smile at neighbors, every manipulative phone call to my teachers, every tearful act of being the selfless stepmother. All of it was part of a larger plan, not to help us, not even to rebuild after my mother died, but to benefit herself. My father wasn't her partner, he was her victim. And me? I was the scapegoat she pinned everything on so no one would question her story. If she painted me as the ungrateful problem, then no one would ever think to look at her. Later that night, my suspicion grew stronger when I overheard her on the phone in the kitchen. Her voice was low, hurried, almost hissing. "Don't call me here. Yes, I'll transfer more soon. Just stay quiet." The blood rushed to my ears. I caught every word, and it confirmed what the papers had already too. Old me. She wasn't just cruel, she was hiding something big. Suddenly, I understood her obsession with micromanaging me. It wasn't discipline, it was strategy. She needed me under control, silenced, painted as a dramatic liar, so that if I ever spoke up about what I saw, no one would believe me. She had crafted her villainous plot perfectly, casting herself as the saint, my father as the fool, and me as the unstable child. Behind that carefully written story, she picked our lives clean, piece by piece. It was the kind of realization that made my whole body feel cold. For so long, I thought her cruel games were personal, that she just enjoyed watching me squirm. But now I saw her for what she really was. This wasn't random malice. This was a con, a scheme, a long game built on lies, manipulation, and control. She didn't just want a family. She wanted our lives on paper, our money in her hands, and our reputations in her grip. She wasn't just a bad stepmom, she was a predator. The night I found those papers and overheard her call, the fear nearly consumed me, but so did the fire. For the first time, I had proof. She wasn't some flawless saint, she was a thief, a manipulator, a liar with a plan. Knowing that gave me strength I didn't even realize I had. I couldn't fight her outright. Not yet, but I started thinking differently. Every sneer, every twisted word out of her mouth became less terrifying and more like a clue, something I could use. I started small. Whenever she barked at me to change outfits or criticized me for my attitude, I didn't lash out anymore. Instead, I stayed calm, memorizing her words and recording them when I could. I kept my phone hidden in my pocket, capturing the way her tone would flip instantly once my dad walked into the room. "Sweetheart, I'm just helping her," she'd coo, while the recording caught every dagger she delivered seconds before. Those recordings became my secret weapons, each second of audio like a tiny crack in her mask. Next, I dug through the trash and mail when she wasn't paying attention. I found more receipts tucked into bags she thought no one would check, and I photographed every one. I built a folder hidden deep on my computer, storing evidence of every detail, her secret account numbers, her spending, her fake personas. It terrified me to go through her things, but every discovery made my spine a little straighter. For once, I wasn't just being controlled, I was fighting back. At school, I began shifting the narrative too. When teachers hinted at the troubled girl story she'd sold them, I started quietly dropping details about how involved my stepmom really was, letting my exhaustion show. A few classmates began connecting dots. When one muttered, "Man, your stepmom sounds intense," I just gave a tired laugh and said, "You don't know the half of it." Planting seeds. Tiny, but powerful. At home, my resistance grew bolder. If she dictated what I ate, I'd leave the plate untouched. If she demanded I join her fake photo ops for social media, I'd stand stiff and expressionless, refusing to gift her the picture-perfect smile. The first time I said no, flat out, her eyes widened like she couldn't believe I dared. She leaned in close and hissed, "Don't test me," but the tremor in her voice told me something new. She wasn't used to me fighting back. For the first time, she was unsure. The risk was enormous, and I knew every misstep could backfire. But slowly, I started unraveling her script, turning myself from her prop into my own player. Each refusal chipped away at her power. Each piece of evidence grew into a weapon I would one day use. I had spent years being painted as ungrateful and unstable, but now I was finally gathering the truth that would expose her for what she really was. I didn't have a clear plan yet, but that didn't matter. What mattered was the shift. For once, I wasn't just her victim, I was her opponent. She thought she had written me into her story as the weak stepdaughter who would crumble under her control, but I was rewriting it from the inside. And though my hands shook and my heart raced every time I defied her, I clung to the fire building in me. She wasn't untouchable. Her downfall was coming, and for the first time, I was going to be the one writing the ending. It all came crashing down faster than I expected. For weeks, I gathered proof, playing her twisted game in silence while the evidence piled higher. I knew I needed the perfect moment, one where she couldn't twist the story or hide behind her charm. That moment arrived during one of her favorite performances, a family dinner with neighbors. She thrived in those settings, cooking elaborate meals, laughing sweetly, and slipping in little comments about how challenging I was. She thought she had the audience captivated, but this time I came prepared. When everyone sat down, she started in on her usual routine. "It hasn't been easy raising a teenager alone," she said, hand on my dad's arm. But I do my best to keep her on track. She just resists guidance sometimes. She looked at me with that fake, pitying smile. My chest burned, but instead of shrinking, I reached into my pocket and placed my phone on the table. I think they should hear the truth, I said, my voice steady though my palms were sweating. Then, with one tap, the room filled with her voice. Sharp, venomous, unfiltered. The recording played her whispering, "You'll never survive without me. I'll drag you back down every time." Gasps echoed around the table. My dad looked like the air had been sucked from his lungs. She lunged for the phone, but I pulled it back, eyes locked on hers. "That's not all," I said, sliding the folder of printed bank statements across the table. "She's been siphoning Dad's money into secret accounts. This is who she really is." Silence. The neighbors exchanged shocked looks. My dad's hands trembled as he flipped through the papers, and for the first time, her mask cracked in public. Her face twisted, not into the sweet hostess, not the caring wife, but into the cruel monster I had always known. "You little brat," she spat before catching herself, realizing too late the truth was spilling out. The room froze. That single slip destroyed what was left of her image. And me? For the first time in years, I wasn't the villain in her script. I was finally free. When I look back now, it's almost hard to believe how much of my life she dictated. What I wore, the friends I had, the food I ate, even the dreams I was allowed to chase were all under her thumb. For so long, I thought I was powerless, trapped in a story she wrote for me. But what I didn't realize then was that every act of cruelty, every lie, every moment she tried to twist me small, was also quietly sharpening me. She thought she was breaking me down, but in reality she was building the fire I would one day use to burn her script to ashes. I won't lie. Her control defined me for a long time. It suffocated me. It stole opportunities I may never get back, and it scarred parts of me I will always carry. But it also forced me to find strength I didn't know I had. Because when you're pushed into the role of the victim long enough, you either disappear into it or you rise up and rewrite it. I chose to rise. And that's the truth I want you to hear. Villains don't always wear black capes. Sometimes they smile sweetly in public, bake casseroles for the neighbors, and pretend they're saving you while they're the ones dragging you down. Evil isn't always loud. It can be polite, polished, and perfectly rehearsed. That's what makes it so dangerous. But here's the other truth. No matter how carefully someone tries to script your life, they can't own your story forever. Eventually, you get to grab the pen back. I did. And when I did, I realized something. Her control sent the end of me. It was the beginning of me finally seeing my own power. Now, the only script I live by is the one I write for myself.